Well, listeners, we have with us Mr. Cumming. I'm going to pass the mic to him in a few moments after I have introduced this little session. We're not quite sure what we're going to talk about, but I suspect that it's the sort of people that who have visited us today, and we'll probably vilify them, tear them to pieces, and anyway, I will start off by putting a question to Mr. Cumming. What do you think of Dun Russell, Mr. Cumming?
Well, I think there's no doubt about it that Dun Russell, not only a great statesman, but a great soldier. He got his, I think it was a Victoria Cross, and he was actually in the scene of the battle. He wasn't behind the men, he was right in front there to get his Victoria Cross. I think that he, an inspiration, particularly to one of the younger Commonwealth countries.
Bob, weren't you rather surprised to see him come round to our place today? I remember Lord Casey and a few of the other people that we met in Melbourne hadn't been to the Doss House for years, and however they still came round. But he was looking as well as he was in the old days when I think you knew him at the Admiralty. And what did you think of Caffarella?
Oh, that Sicilian bloody gypsy. He would be the most unreliable man, Caffarella. But I'll tell you one thing about it. Never a dull moment. If you're just going over North Sydney in Caffarella's car and you propose to leave at 10 o'clock in the morning, you can be pretty sure that you'll be there by 5 o'clock in the evening, and make allowance for running out of petrol, exhaust pipe falling off, and that gypsy-like stare he gets when he's looking out in the water. God knows what he's thinking about. But I talk about Russell, Dunny, old Dunny, that's typical of old Dunny. Typical of old Dunny to come around and see his old mates. So regardless of their social position or money, he's always good for a quid, old Dunny, to an old soldier. Always good for a quid. I never got the RSL there.
By the way, you haven't a match, have you, Bob?
Another thing about old Dunny, too, is his, being a poetical nature, sort of. He looks after old poets, too. And talking about poetry, that paraphrase of mine, William Blake, I like very much. William Blake wrote this, as he had a habit of doing. He'd be talking that night to some people. He would go home and put down a quatrain, and these are very personal ones. And this one actually was written for Fuseli, and the original goes, "The only man I ever knew that did not make me almost spew was Fuseli, and he was both Turk and Jew. And so, dear Christian friends, how do you do?" Well, my paraphrase goes, "The only man I ever knew that did not make me almost spew was Hooton. And he was bum and poet too. And so, dear successful friends, how do you do?"
Here. I think that's an excellent parody, and I must now think very quickly of something excellent I can say about Bob, it may be my last opportunity. How are we going to sum up Mr. Robert Cumming? I should imagine the most colourful personality Sydney has known. He's hit Sydney from so many different directions and in so many connections, both as a verger, a deep thinker, and a deep drinker, the conservatorium organiser, man who's broken more fiddles and broken a few hearts. I suppose that a lot of you people are listening to Bob and me and thinking, well, there they are, the two old cronies, although Bob's not as old as me, scratching each other's back and approving of each other exchanging praise, well, you have another thing coming. My respect goes out to Cummings, not because he likes me alone, although that's a big enough reason in anyone's book, in your book, if you're honest with yourself, but because of his stirring loyalty. I remember attacking Hopgood, a poet I didn't like. I remember Bob's spirited response, and contrary to the supposition that Bob just has taken my dicta as undisputable, he's always had his own opinions and has defended people tooth and nail against me. He likes Dylan Thomas, he's got a mind of his own, and there he is. He's going to say some poetry now that
Harry, you probably remember. What was it? Mockador.
the Mockador.
Yeah, and I got my dinner suit on. And
So was the old Mockador.
that's right, the Mockador. And Harry came over to me and said, "You were looking very unhappy. He didn't know me. I don't know whether it was the first time I met him or the second time." And I said, "I'm really down, evilly down, blue, everything. What's your trouble?" I said, "I don't like playing night after night in dance bands, and putting funny hats on and singing funny songs." Well, he said, "Why don't you get out of it?" I said, "I'll do exactly that." 1 week later, I did. I arrived late for work. The first time, contrary to whatever popular opinion might be, the first time I ever turned up drunk. And Mick Coghlan said to me, he was a decent old bloke, they called him an old smoothie. He said, "You're late." And I said, "Yes, I'm keeping band leaders' hours." But I said, "I can't go on, Frank." He said, "Yes, you can." He put his arm around my shoulder. He said, "You'll be all right. Just fill your chair there." Came to this horrible song, "Where Is Dan?" I think it was. And I got up, and suddenly I thought to myself, am I a man or a mouse? So I thought, I'll be a man. So I jumped off the stage, grabbed a widgie, danced up to the hallway, told the manager, who is now, thank goodness, passed on, to get well and truly flocked, and shook hands with the commissioner, gave my trombone away to the nearest passer-by. And that was the last time I ever appeared as a professional musician. Now, I'd written lots of poems, and I had some fans. They were conservatorium people, doctors. And then I came under luckily, and I kept on writing that stuff, I suppose, really subjective stuff, sad poetry, love poetry, and if I hadn't discovered Hooton's work. And when I did, my patrons fell away from me. They said, "If only you hadn't met Hooton, you would be a good poet." I said, "If I hadn't have met Hooton, I probably wouldn't be anything." So anyway, that was only by the way. I haven't got any glasses with me. I'm going blind. Time is catching up with me too, so I haven't got any glasses. So I've just sort of got to try and remember a couple of the short things. One I always liked was the Freudian dig. It goes something like this. A psychologist is a man who asks you to dig down deep enough so you can remember something you've forgotten, so you can forget the very thing you keep on remembering. In an article I elaborate on that a little bit, and I say it's what a man remembers drives him mad, and what he forgets can keep him sane. This particularly applies to your past. Apart from myself being a deep drinker, I've also had to deal with deep drinkers. I use the word alcoholic for them now. I think that's a wicked word, really. I think the word does more harm, actually, than the drink itself, but that's a private opinion.
And there's no doubt about it, we who can be still hetero are looking for mistresses. But again, on the heavier side, we're looking for a master. How wonderful it is to really find that there's someone that you don't have to contend with. How very untrue it is to say of people who have become embittered with the struggle, frustrated supposedly by their failures, to suppose that they are really such hateful people. We're still looking. We're not just dispensing the truth, we're still looking.